The brain, as an extension of the body, is an incredible instrument of transformation, and like the body, it is deeply interconnected with water, approximately 75% of it to be precise. In terms of structure, the brain is made up of various components, but let's focus on two of the most significant players: glial cells and neurons. Glial cells, whose name derives from the Greek word glia, meaning glue, form the supportive matrix of the brain. These cells not only hold the brain together structurally, but also serve many other essential functions that science is still uncovering. They act like the silent custodians, maintaining the environment where the real stars of the show, neurons, can thrive. Neurons are the extraordinary communicators of the brain, and they are far more than just cells. They are the conduits of energy and information, processing and transmitting signals in the form of electrochemical impulses. Unlike any other cell in the body, neurons form direct connections with one another, allowing them to create a network of infinite possibilities. These connections, synapses, are what make the nervous system the master controller, coordinating every function of your body and every thought of your mind. Let's put the brain's incredible complexity into perspective. A tiny grain of sand-sized piece of brain tissue contains about 100,000 neurons. If you were to take a pebble-sized piece of brain tissue, you'd find 2 miles of neuron material. And the entire human brain, it houses around 100 billion neurons. If you started counting to 100 billion, one number per second, it would take you over 3,000 years to finish. Imagine stacking 100 billion sheets of paper. The stack would stretch 5,000 miles, roughly the distance from Los Angeles to London. That's how vast and intricate the universe inside your skull truly is. While neurons in the brain are remarkably compact, others can be astonishingly long, with some extending up to 3 feet from the brain down through the spinal cord. Regardless of their size, every neuron functions with the same fundamental mechanism, transmitting energy and information to maintain balance and harmony within the body and mind. Now picture this. It's morning, and you're mapping out your day. As you visualize your goals, neurons in your brain fire in complex patterns, forming connections that bring your vision to life. Sensory neurons flood your brain with data about your external world. What you see, hear, smell, taste, and feel, while also reporting on your internal state, like hunger, thirst, or even the subtle discomfort of lingering tension. When you decide to take action, motor neurons transmit commands from your brain to your body, transforming thought into motion and intention into reality. This intricate web of neuronal communication is universal, yet profoundly personal. The patterns and networks of firing neurons in your brain are as unique as your fingerprint. These patterns are what shape your behavior, your perceptions, and ultimately, your reality. By becoming aware of how these systems work, you hold the key to rewiring your brain, reshaping your mind, and stepping into the greatest version of yourself. This is the power of the brain, the seat of creation and transformation. Think of a neuron as a living, dynamic tree, its intricate branches reaching outward to connect, communicate, and create. At the core of this tree lies the cell body, or nucleus, which acts as the control center, much like the trunk of an oak tree in winter. Within this nucleus resides the neuron's DNA, its blueprint for life, encoding the instructions to produce proteins that give the cell its structure and allow it to fulfill its unique role. While the DNA in nerve cells is nearly identical to that of any other cell in the body, the active expression of specific genes is what sets a neuron apart, giving it its purpose. Now picture this neural tree. Extending outward from the cell body are 2 types of appendages, the axon and the dendrites. The axon is the tree's trunk, a single long extension that can stretch anywhere from a fraction of a millimeter to 2 meters, carrying messages like a superhighway of electrochemical energy. At its far end, the axon splits into root-like structures called axon terminals, where it connects with other neurons to pass along its signal. Moving upward from the cell body, we encounter the dendrites, the branches of our neural tree. These flexible, antenna-like extensions fan out in every direction, narrowing into delicate finger-like twigs. At their tips are tiny, granular bumps called dendritic spines, the primary receivers of information. These spines are where learning and memory are born as they reshape themselves with each new experience, forming the connections that create the circuitry of your life. Despite their tree-like structure, neurons are far from rigid. Imagine spaghetti boiling in water, flexible, dynamic, and ever-changing. Neurons adapt moment by moment, responding to new information and reshaping their connections to align with your intentions, thoughts, and experiences. The many faces of neurons come in a variety of shapes and sizes, each specialized for a specific purpose. Sensory neurons act as scouts, collecting information from the external world through your senses and from your internal environment, hunger, temperature, and more. They relay this data to the brain and spinal cord. Motor neurons, on the other hand, are messengers of action, sending commands from the brain and spinal cord to muscles and organs, translating thought into movement and intention into reality. Even the physical structure of neurons varies. Some, like unipolar neurons, have a single branch that divides into two directions. Others, like bipolar neurons, feature a cell body with one axon and one dendrite extending from opposite ends. Multipolar neurons, the most common type in the brain and spinal cord, have one axon and multiple dendrites, creating an expansive network of connections. Neurons also differ in size. Golgi type 1 neurons, for instance, have long axons that can extend up to a meter, forming the vast fibers of the brain, spinal cord, and peripheral nerves. In contrast, Golgi type 2 neurons are short and star-like, with branches that stay close to the cell body. These are the most common neurons in the brain's gray matter, serving as the foundation of our cerebral and cerebellar cortices. How neurons communicate. Neurons form a sophisticated communication network, sending signals through their axons and receiving them via their dendrites. Imagine the branches of one tree reaching out to touch the roots of another, transferring information back and forth in a seamless flow. However, these connections are not direct. There is always a tiny gap, a millionth of a centimeter wide, called the synapse. It is across this space that neurons send their messages, bridging the gap with chemical signals and creating the flow of energy that powers every thought, emotion, and action. To simplify, let's focus on how one neuron communicates with another. Imagine neuron A sending a signal down its axon where it reaches the axon terminal. There, it releases neurotransmitters, chemical messengers, into the synapse. These molecules cross the gap and bind to the dendritic spines of neuron B, triggering a response that continues the chain of communication. This intricate dance of energy and information doesn't just keep you alive, it allows you to evolve. Every thought you think, every intention you hold, and every experience you have shapes this neural network, rewiring your brain and transforming your reality. Understanding this process is the first step toward mastering it, empowering you to step into a higher level of consciousness and create the life you desire.